Wow.
I could
Hi,
say,
Daphne. Well, we have 1 more minute to communicate.
I could do the 7-minute waltz. Someone's good orator.
So,
I don't know.
I think we have everybody now. It's 7 o'clock. I'm going to call the meeting of Middleton Plan Commission for August 11th, 2022 order. And the first item, Abby, is the roll call.
Murray,
Here.
Paulson,
Here.
Ramsey. I did not see Dan join.
Well, maybe he will, so we'll see. So,
Okay. Schaefer,
Here?
Slavish,
Here.
Tyson,
Here.
and Mayor Brar is present.
yeah. Okay, so let's check. Dan Ramsey, are you here?
And I just checked the waiting room. He's not in the waiting room either.
Okay. Well, let's go to the approval of the minutes and need a motion to approve.
John Schaefer.
Second,
Okay,
Paulson.
John made a motion to approve and Kurt Paulson seconded it. Any questions or comments or anything?
I'll be
Okay.
abstaining as I was not at the meeting.
Okay. All those in favor of the motion to approve the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So the motion passes. Is Dan Ramsey here yet?
Nope.
Okay. All right. We go now to the next item. It's not still 7:05, so we go on to item number 1. Sign design review, Artist Reed, Wisconsin Trade Center, 8401 Greenway. And they just updated some information just this afternoon. And Daphne, you're up.
All right. Hi, everyone. So I believe Abby's going to pull up the revised plan that they sent to us. And so they basically just addressed all the comments that I had. They moved the monument sign so it's out of that median, and so it's to the side of the road. So that gets rid of the issue with the MG&E easement. I believe it's the same size, same concept, just they moved it out, so there's no need to have any issues with that easement.
Is it going to the west side or the east side?
It's going to the west side.
Daphne, in this photo that you have up right now, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and 4 show it in the median.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, but
Abby,
it won't be
go
there.
down one more.
No, it's just showing that how it would look like from there, right?
Yeah. So I don't think they changed any of the views.
Is it on this site plan here, Daphne? I can zoom in.
Yeah, it's on that site plan.
Yep.
Yeah, so they have that little like blue line. If you keep zooming in, yeah.
Sorry.
I see.
Yeah, so it's moved to the west.
I think that's much
Yeah.
better because there's traffic issues and everything with the old way.
So I know that in the sign code it says 15 feet from a crosswalk. What's your interpretation of that, Daphne?
I believe so. I believe this would be considered a driveway and not a crosswalk. I'm not too entirely sure about that. Also, since it's not, at a traffic stop or anything like that, it's more like the pedestrian would have the right of way.
Yeah, I would recommend, if Daphne, maybe you've already talked with Sean Stowski about this revised location. I know he's out this week. I think any recommendation maybe should be contingent on his review of it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I make a motion to approve.
Wait. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, well, we can still have a discussion, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay,
Go ahead.
Kurt, so, yeah.
No,
Okay, so
just to follow up on Jen's point, if you look at a aerial image of this, like on Google Maps or something, you see that there is the site plan says 15 feet from property line and curb, but there is it's not a sidewalk, but it's like a bike path along Greenway Boulevard on the south side. And would it be set back 15 feet from that? Yeah, that where you have your cursor, that's what I'm talking about.
It's just a wide sidewalk.
It's just a wide sidewalk.
Yeah.
So is it supposed to be 15 feet from the property line or from the sidewalk?
We don't have a minimum setback requirement other than that the sign should not, if it's oriented in a way that it could fall onto off property, that would be a problem. But this is outside of an easement that was presented to us this afternoon. And I'm not worried about the location.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think the ordinance says 15 feet from a crosswalk. So if there is, technically a crosswalk, which this is a driveway, definitely right. I don't think the literal interpretation of the ordinance would be an issue. But if we're concerned about sightlines to see pedestrians and that sign is an obstruction because as vehicles approach it, it may be covering, a bicyclist or someone who would be there, that could be a concern. And I think there was a 15-foot discussion on that also.
There's a vision triangle. I wonder if that's the part of the ordinance that you're referring to. Where
Yeah, I looked that up, but it could be.
Yeah.
From a purely pragmatic standpoint, being that it's on the west side, it's not going to block anybody and the bicyclist coming out of the driveway. It will only be for people coming into the driveway who should be able to see the bicyclist from both sides. So personally, I think that if it was on the east side, I'd be concerned. On this side, I think it's okay.
Agree.
Yeah.
Okay, so any other questions or comments or further discussion?
So the motion would have a contingency that it has to be approved by the city engineer?
Yep.
I'll second that motion.
Okay.
Or make
All
it.
Any further discussion?
Are there any specifics about how the tenants would have lettering on this sign? I see they're all caps and then they're numbered, and it looks like each tenant has a rectangle which is approximately a foot tall, maybe.
Or taller, I think. Do we have the dimensions, Abby or Daphne?
They're on the side, 6'5", and there's seven tenants, so it's 6'5" divided by 7 less the.
Yeah, less than
margin.
12 inches. So yes.
Will they always have a white font, or will other symbology be allowed denoting the business?
Do we have anybody from Artists, Abby?
I was just looking and I don't see anyone.
This is actually Allison with Grant Signs, if you can hear me.
Okay.
Yeah, and I can answer
All
a
right.
couple of those questions.
Please go ahead and answer them.
Yes, so the tenant names will always be what we call reverse cut vinyl. So the white, it will always have white lettering, so that it stays unified, and they're only gonna be allowed to be that color.
Perfect, thank you.
Mayor, we should also add the contingency as recommended by staff that the applicant submit a landscape plan for staff approval.
Okay, but I thought they did submit, Daphne, did they submit the landscape?
Yes, I believe in this new submission, they also had a
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
So,
And,
yeah,
and staff has looked at that and that's acceptable?
We haven't had enough time to really look it over, but just from our cursory glance, it looked fine to me.
I agree. I looked at it this afternoon. I thought it was fine.
okay, but that's okay. I think staff should have an overview in any case. So, yeah, that's a good idea. So,
What I recorded as the motion, I heard that Paulson, seconded by Schaefer, to approve the sign in the revised location as well as the landscaping plan, comma, contingent upon approval by the city engineer.
okay.
As a seconder, I'm fine with that.
Okay, further questions or comments? All those in favor of the motion to approve, say aye.
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 So this is the sign design review artist, right, at Wisconsin State Center, 8401 Greenway. Okay, it's beyond 8:07:05. So I'm going to go to the public hearing, and I'm going to open the public hearing for the conditional use permit for Vibe Dance Medicine 2120 Greenview Drive. Anyone who is here and would want to speak, either in favor or against?
Well, I'm one of the partners and one of the owners of Vibe Dance Madison.
Well, thank you, Eric. You want to say anything? It's going to be a great stuff, right?
Yeah. I'm not sure if the other members of the Planning Commission received the materials I had sent to Mark, but Jackie Reberg, who is the Middleton head team dance coach, is in favor of our dance academy. They'd like to use our facilities for practice, and she's very familiar with our staff and with our teachers that we're planning to bring in. We're an instructional dance academy for children ages 3 to 18. We teach all major dance disciplines, including ballet, tap, hip hop, jazz, contemporary, lyrical. Our business hours are primarily 3 p.m. to 9 p.m. So we're an after school facility, training facility where students would come and practice dance and take instruction. Our teachers have over 100 years of dance instruction experience. They're very well known in the Madison community. Yeah, our facilities these facilities are strictly going to be for training and teaching. We rent different facilities for recitals, concerts, those types of things. In fact, we'll most likely be renting the Middleton Performing Arts Center for our concerts and recitals and those types of events. So that's a little bit about our business and why we're looking for conditional use.
Wow, that's awesome. Having Middleton Performing Arts Center performing there. And Eric, did you say it's only from 3 to 18-year-old and no senior citizens? Is that?
Well, we could look at opening a curriculum for that, but no, we're ages 3 to 18. Once you reach 18 and you're out of high school, your dance days at our studio would be done. But
all right, the way to go. Okay, anybody else who might want to speak? If there's no one there, I'm going to close that part of the public hearing now, and we're going to go to, shall we just go to this, well, let's just follow, it won't be too long, Eric. So we are just going to go to item number 2, sign design and review for floors for less. Seems Fairway Place. All right, so
Yes,
Daphne,
so-
you're up again.
Yeah, so this is just a monument sign proposed by a new business here. It's going to be, I believe, 28 square feet. And it will not be lighted. And then they also submitted a landscape plan today, which Mark and I reviewed, and it also looks good.
Looks good, can't complain, so.
I move we accept it.
Okay, motion by John to approve, and I second it. This is, okay, any further questions or comments? Any questions or comments? Okay, all those in favor of the motion to approve the floors for less 8604 Fairway Place, say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Is Dan Ramsey there, Abby, yet? Is
No.
Dan Ramsey here?
He is not.
Okay, okay, all right, so, okay, we are on to the exciting part here, item number 3. Eric is happy, so conditional use permit and sign design review for Vibe Dance Medicine 2120 West Greenview Drive. Any, okay, this is Mark. Mark, go ahead. You're up.
Yeah, I have a one-page memo in your staff in the packet, providing you with an overhead view of the site as well as a ground view. It's an existing building. They're planning to use the southern quarter of the building. It's an industrial in our industrial zoning district, which is why you have the conditional use permit for you tonight. I had no concerns from the standpoint of parking. The design alterations are going to be very minimal. They're just putting in some can lights. It's not really anything significant. So really what's before you tonight is the conditional use permit. And also we recommend that you allow staff approval of a sign that complies with the sign code.
Okay. Any questions?
I'll make that motion.
I second it.
I'll second. Yep, got it.
Oh, well, yes, we can have 2 seconds. Yeah, that's fine. So.
Yeah, we got a good vibe going on here. So
Yes, yes.
Who are you recognizing as the second, Mayor? Who are you recognizing as the second? I didn't hear everybody.
Oh, okay. Who were the, well, okay, you can put me down there. So yeah, that's fine.
It was Mike Slavish who was doing.
Yeah.
Okay, let's put Mike Slavish there. So
thank you.
Mike is a great guy.
All right.
I just want to go on record that I think it's a great idea. You know, I'm in the arts. I think it's great, and I don't see a conflict. I think the space is there. It's open. The timing is particularly nice, and that it doesn't conflict with the daytime use of the facility. So I'm totally behind it.
Okay.
Well, this is Jen. I just want to verify there are no sign details provided in this approval, and we did the element of approving this with the sign meeting the ordinance. So that would mean that it will be the linear feet of the building will match the square footage of the sign. Is that kind of what we're looking at in terms of the sign approval?
Oh, absolutely, yes.
I would say I would only apply the quarter of the building, a quarter of the sign, the frontage, if you will, the frontage that they have facing the street. The building is, I'm sure, more than 100 feet long. Technically, it's allowed one 100-foot long sign. Divided amongst the tenants. There's actually multiple tenants in that building. Not all of them need signage. So I will work with the applicant to make sure but yeah, I'm looking at a signage that is appropriate to, scaled properly and complies with their sign code. We don't have any sign details at this time. I was trying to save them a step.
I believe that was in the
well, right.
The motion, right?
Right. So the question would be: is the frontage on 14, or is it on maybe Greenview Drive? I guess that's the question. In some ways, could they have more than one sign? And I think what you're explaining, Mark, is the idea would be that there would be one facade counted as the linear length, and it would probably be the 100-foot length.
We would have the street facing facade. So you know, when you have a multi-tenant building, what we typically see happen is a comprehensive sign plan approved for the building.
Okay.
I'm not, I didn't actually, other than I did a street view site inspection in this case. So I didn't see, I don't recall there being any other signs on the building. There might have been to the north. Paul Molinaro is present and can represent the property owner if you have a question about signage.
Paul, do you want to add anything?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, so there's a few other tenants in the space. There's only one other facade sign on the building currently. But there could be future signs. So we would work with Eric to make sure it's appropriately sized to allow future signage for other tenants.
And work with me on that too, please, with staffing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, just so you guys are aware, I mean, we only intend to have one sign, even though we're taking kind of more than one area of that building. And again, we'll work with Mark to make sure that it complies with, whatever is required by the city.
Okay, thank you.
Usually the way we do this is when there's a new sign on a new building, a new sign on a building, we bring that to the Plan Commission for design review. I was just trying to save a step. And I thought, given that the signable area is very simple here, I'm sure that, they weren't looking at anything extravagant from my conversation with him. So I felt we could go this route.
Mark, can I just raise a question? Is just a little bit to the north is CrossFit Madtown on Evergreen Road. Is that also an industrial area?
On Evergreen Road? Did you mean to say? I'm not sure.
Yeah, on Evergreen Road, CrossFit Madtown, which is off of Pleasant View Road. And Evergreen.
Oh,
the reason I raise this is I support this, and it's something as we do the comprehensive plan we need to think about. Is there's kind of increasing demand for things like workout facilities, dance studios, music studios, like karate studios for kids, just with the rise in the number of families around here. But there are other cities that are really concerned to protect industrial areas for industrial only, so that you don't kind of crowd out your employment-based land use for industry with more of a retail use. In this case, I think it's a great location because it's on a corner, but sometimes there can be a future conflict if you have a lot of parents dropping off kids for gymnastics or dance, and you have a more industrial sort of land use. So just something to think about for the future comprehensive plan.
Good idea, Kurt.
And as I mentioned to Mark in an email, the dance studio that's above Hertz Donuts is in a business district, and we don't really have anything in our zoning ordinance that's quite like something like a dance studio, which is kind of a cross between a business and a kind of educational, recreational sort of facility. So that's something to think about in the future too, is, are these better in business type districts or industrial type districts, or do we want to just go to more mixed use?
I'm a bit concerned about this conversation because this is a business, and he's using this space and he's paying rent and he's doing what he's supposed to be doing. And
right.
Where do we determine that if it doesn't have a lathe or a metal drill, it's not a business? But this is a legitimate. Here's a space, and here's a business that wants to rent this space and use it, and we don't control how many employees the other businesses have, etc. So I just don't see a conflict at all, to be honest with
you. Yeah, I think. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, so it's generally in zoning that we think that business type zoning tends to be businesses that deal directly with customers. So you have a lot of in and out traffic and different traffic patterns as opposed to industrial, where it's most of the traffic is generated by employees and then goods being shipped in or out. And there's some people who say you shouldn't draw a distinction, make it all mixed use and let business decide. But others think you want to protect industrial uses to make sure that you keep that portion of your employment base stable.
Yeah, I guess, I look at that area and there's places that sell retail nuts and bolts. Used to be Wind Dogs, which is a dog place, which had dozens of cars coming in, dropping off dogs and everything. And so if you go through that area, there are little storage garages where people come and go that have nothing to do with industrial bases. And I think if you really drive through there, it's a very mixed use area.
Right.
It's not a hardcore industrial farm.
John, Kurt's point is that what's gradually happening is we run the risk of squeezing out our true industrial activities. I think that's the concern that he's trying to raise. And it's true that this was the industrial park. It's been the industrial park for 30 years. It still is. But gradually what's happening is businesses like, what's the meat place? I can't think of, UW Provisions.
UW Provisions
has added a retail component. There's a place, a furniture place on Eagle Drive. So what's gradually happening is the true industrial use of manufacturing and warehousing, storage, things like that, pretty soon is going to run out of places to locate. And I think that's Kurt, if I'm hearing what you're saying and remembering our.
Okay, you all have good points here. And I think the definition of industry is changing. So let's just watch.
I'm just putting that out there for discussion.
Now. It's all going virtual, and a lot of the things which you thought industry is very different now. And I know there used to be Eagle Optics here. It's a good discussion. So I think you both have good points. I agree with John, and I agree with Eric. It's good. I don't see any problem here. So, but let's keep on discussing and also keep an eye how the industry is changing. So let's not. Think the way we used to think. The times have changed. It's not the same old thing. Okay, any further discussion? And Abby, I see that Elder Ramsey is here now, or is on the call. Elder Ramsey, you are here, right?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Sorry for being late. I was in another meeting.
Okay, all right. Elder Ramsey is here. Okay. All right. So the motion is to approve the conditional use permit and a sign design review for White Dance Medicine 2120 West Greenwood Drive. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, that passes unanimously. Eric, go and celebrate and start the dance from 3 to 18. Okay, all right. We are on to item number 4. This is the specific implementation plan modification for signage and lighting for senior living on 3820 Tribeca Drive, the Stuka Senior Living. Who is going to take this one? It looks like it's you?
Yes. So
okay, all right, Abby.
This is a request for design review approval of a sign package as well as a lighting package for the new senior housing development that's under construction right now in Tribeca.
Yep.
And the sign package has 3 signs. There's a monument sign that is really well designed and fits within the parameters of the sign code. And there are 2 directional signs. The concern with the directional sign, simply, reviewing it by what is required in the sign code, is that it's just a little bit too tall to meet the definition of directional. And
6 inches, right?
Yeah. Yep. And also the lighting that is being proposed for the directional sign technically is uplighting, and so I would recommend that the commission consider either internal lighting for that sign or possibly gooseneck lighting if the applicant would like to go with an externally lit sign. Gooseneck could be a full cutoff lighting. And then Oh, sorry, was there a question?
I can jump in there representing the owner. We are in the process of lowering the height of both directional signs. So that'll be taken care of, and we've decided to get rid of the uplighting on those two signs.
Okay, so no lighting on the two directionals?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. And Alan, could you please state your full name and your company for the record?
Alan Theobald, and I'm one of the project architects for Iconica.
Thank you. And then the other item was the lighting of the memory care garden. And I have to admit, I thought that the color changing lighting looked lovely. I had asked the applicant a while back if there was somewhere nearby that had this type of lighting that we could actually go and physically take a look at, because per the strict reading of our lighting ordinance, this is uplighting and this is not allowed under the lighting code. I think it's really decorative and it looks lovely, but it's really not recommended. And then the bollards that are being proposed in the memory care garden are, they appear to fit within the lighting ordinance requirements. So the staff recommendation with the modifications that Mr. Theobald recommended for the signage, the staff recommendation is simply to approve the signage as a minor SIP modification with those changes, and then approve the bollard lighting, but we didn't recommend approval for the memory care color change lighting.
Alan, does that sound okay to you?
Well, we would like to discuss the color changing lights.
Yeah, Alan, if you don't mind, I'll jump in. This is Tom Pianka with Tuca. Hello, everybody.
Yeah, go ahead. Mm-hmm.
I had a discussion a while back with Mark Opitz about this, and I fed Abby and Mark some photo images of our memory garden color changing area. And as Abby said, I think we all would agree it's really lovely. It's calm. It's something that's really appreciated by our memory care people, along with our assisted living people. I'll get back to that in a moment. Mark and I discussed that the lighting ordinance is very difficult to understand, and neither Mark or I or my lighting engineers could really make proper heads or tails out of it for this application. At the end of the day, though, the lights that were recommended for the memory garden are nothing more than a 14.5 watt light bulb. That's equivalent to that. And when you couple that with the color changing, the lumen output of these lamps are extraordinarily low, but they do provide just a very fun, glowing environment, whereas we can change up the lights seasonally. So we can have Halloween, we can have football, we can have Green Bay Packer colors. And at our other properties, our residents often ask our facility guys, hey, what's the color of the week? And it may not seem much to us, but honestly, I have some of this at my own home and I love it. I love it. It's beautiful. My favorite color is blue sky, and it's just kind of a soothing, relaxing thing. And the environmental harm that we're providing here is negligible in my mind. I do appreciate the night sky movement. I support that. But in this effort, we're lighting up trees, small trees, eventually large trees, and the night pollution is really extremely low. And once you understand that in aggregate, I'd ask the Plan Commission to kind of reconsider it for the benefit of our senior residents.
What do you? So this is for line that don't allow, right?
There we go. Now, if you focus on only the uplights, and this was early in the season before we've had all our landscaping grow to maturity. What you're focused on is the hot spot of the trellis lighting down, but the soft lighting of the trees, you can kind of pick in the background is blue. And it's really, honestly, really a nice enhancement to the property.
So Tom, hey, this is Mike Slavish. I mean, that image there with the trellis,
yeah,
it looks like some of those lights are up above shining down. Is that the case?
They are, correct.
And I guess, you know, as a compromise, as you know, would you consider that? Is that a practical modification for you? I don't personally, I don't have an issue with the uplighting, given that it's low voltage, but you know, in the spirit of kind of our ordinance, if there was any opportunity to light from above and, you know, get the same similar effect.
Interesting thought. We could mount some of these fixtures from up above on the building shining down.
Yeah.
But we all know the glow of some of the colors lighting up, especially some of the blue spruces or the pine trees, is really a nice effect. Again, I'm going to go back to the wattage. It's only 14.5 watts. It's not a 100-watt light bulb. The lumen level is only like 355. Ordinance for other lighting within your package is somewhere between 2,500 and 3,500 lumens. And we're 10% of that. That's the part I'm trying to convey tonight, guys, is we're not trying to power up the sky. It's so low.
What was the lumens again?
250.
250, okay.
No, 350 or 355.
Yeah, 350, 355. So, and it will change over time as the bulbs get older. So.
This is Jen. I think I feel comfortable with it. I also noticed that the angle of the lights is restricted between 15 and 60 degrees. And to me, that seems okay. They're not directly pointing up.
And one other thing I'd like to convey, and this is the truth and reality of it, is you can operate this stuff from your phone. And from my own personal experience, we don't run it at 100% power. We find that sweet spot between, call it 50 and 75%. And we adjust it seasonally too. So we're not intending to make it a problem, just an enhancement.
So this senior living center is on Tribeca Drive, which is very close to the airport. And the whole purpose of the ordinance that was written is to minimize the issues related to airplane flying. It looks like, I mean, it's lovely, but it looks like it could be extremely distracting for an airplane trying to land here.
Well,
I think we want, you know, we could ask these people that it's downlighting for sure, as opposed to at an angle, and just regroup a little bit in terms of making the same statement, but making sure there's no uplighting whatsoever.
Okay. How about other commissioners?
How far is this from the airport?
Well, I think the point, Kurt, is it's the landing path, and
right.
You got to think about the landing path and what they're going to see when they're trying to come in.
Yeah.
It's about half a mile or less. So.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, is there a compromise where we approve it because it looks nice, but have a conditionality in it that if the city receives complaints, or I'm not sure how to phrase it, but something where it would trigger a requirement for him to remove them or angle them or shield them if there are issues? Or would it be better off to refer this to the airport commission for review and comment, or at the very least make approval contingent on approval by either the airport commission or the airport director. Because obviously, if it's a safety issue, it's a no-go. If with the airport.
Well, I like your last thing. For me, when we're talking about lights, it's not the luminance, it's the direction of the light, because you can have a four lumen light that if it's right in your eyes, is piercing and painful. So to me, it's the downward lighting and it's the avoidance of any upward lighting that's the problem, and not so much how bright the light is. I mean, there's a lot other lights all around this area going down that are much brighter than this, but it's really the issue of up versus down. I sort of, think Kurt's idea is great, that the idea of to prove this, because it's a nice idea, contingent upon the airport people saying that's not a problem. I don't see this as a problem for people on the street, etc. But I think that's the issue.
It looks like it's about 3,700 feet from the site to the edge of the primary runway.
Oh, yeah, that's not an issue to me.
That's actually very much in the pathway, though.
Yeah,
that's less than a mile.
No,
that's very close.
You've got to think in terms of where the planes are landing, the downwind leg, the base leg, and the final leg, and whether those lights are going to be shining at the plane coming in.
Right, but you got the Ford Motor Company there plant, you've got the Schmidt Auto, you've got all these other things that are giving off a heck of a lot more light than what this is giving off. And they're right in the landing pattern.
The issue is very much in their court. Yes, that's a problem, but that doesn't mean we should go on and pass others that are hopefully not going to be a problem in the future.
Well, sorry, I wasn't around when those others passed, but they're there.
Yeah, those are a question in most of the world's mind as to why car dealerships can get away with it. But yeah.
Mark, you're the.
Sorry, Kitty. This is. You raise a valid point, but I want to take this back and put a little bit more context. We are proposing to have 11 uplights. The 11 uplights constitute 160 watts or 275 watt light bulbs spread out over 11 spots. That's how minimal this is. And I wouldn't be here tonight if I was trying to push the city into allowing something more outside of their ordinances. This is minimal, and I'd be more than happy to install them, put them in, and if it's a problem, we can either take them out or we will find a simple happy medium by dimming them. But I promise you, we're putting up an extraordinary building in our city. We are, and it is going to be the talk of the town. It's going to produce a lot of tax, and I personally love this lighting, and that's why I'm here tonight. I think it's important to our people, and if I didn't, I wouldn't spend the money and I wouldn't waste your time.
Yeah, I understand it's a great design and good lighting and so on, but the world is changing. The whole world is changing the concept behind uplighting, and you can accomplish pretty much the same kinds of things in your design by just using downlighting.
Which we are, but I'll leave it up to you guys. I've made a case.
So how much trouble would it be to do the downlighting?
It's not as effective, Mayor, when it's the glow on the underside of the trees to create this ambience, this effect.
Okay.
And,
so do we want to
like,
prove with a condition that they work with the staff and also the airport commission?
Mayor, may I make a? Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah.
May I make a couple comments about the lighting code?
Yeah,
I've been thinking
sure.
about the conversation and the direction that Kurt was going. I also was thinking recently about examples of uplighting I've seen. Two things I wanted to review. Under our code, and the code that he was talking about that was confusing, he was referring to our lighting code specifically. We have under section 33.04 parentheses 3, there's a description about residential light fixtures. And it says any new light fixture that's 2,500 lumens and over, or anything that's above the eave, or anything that's attached to buildings or poles separate from the residence must comply with the provisions of this ordinance. But what I wanted to emphasize is it talks about 2,500 lumens and over, but he's saying each one is 350, you said, Max? Is that what you said, Tom?
Correct.
So each one is about 12, 13% of the threshold that's identified for when you have to comply with the ordinance for a residence. So I just wanted to make that observation. I hadn't thought of it like that before. And what Kurt suggested about referring this to the airport manager for comment, I think that's a good idea. When you drive into O'Hare, there's a whole lighting display in the median there as you drive in. And I wanted to say that some of those are uplighting. At the same time, we have our ordinance, we allow uplighting on some of these buildings too, on T-Walls buildings, for example, as long as it's oriented towards the building. So I'm willing
and also,
to
Mark, as long as it is cut off by the
structure,
the roof overhang.
Exactly.
And actually, Graber View has very similar lighting to what is on Middleton Center downtown. And it was approved because it is cut off by the roof overhang. And there's a specific provision in the lighting ordinance that allows that.
Right. And so here they're focusing on the tree. I think Jen was talking about the angle, 15 degrees to, what was the degrees, Jen?
45.
15 to 45 was the range?
65.
I think it was 60.
55, okay.
But it's not straight up and it's focused on. Anyway, the point is I'm happy to do a little more research on this if you'd like. I haven't really connected the threshold with residential at 2,500 lumens before, and this is substantially less. So if you'd like me to do some more research, I'm offering to do it.
Okay, well, that sounds like a good idea because it may come up again. So it's good to know what we are doing. So when you do add up 11 or 12, so, then it is, when you're looking at 2,200 or 2,300, is that each light or total? So, but I like to, if you're going to look into research and, so do we want to prove or do we want to defer it then? Would it be an issue for you if it was to be delayed by 2 weeks?
Not at all. That's fine.
Okay.
Let's take our time.
Okay,
and do it right.
so let's defer it and let Mark and the others do the research and then look at it at the next meeting. I make a motion to defer.
Are you deferring the whole thing? You're
Okay.
deferring the whole, okay.
Yeah, just this item number 4.
We're deferring the lighting.
Right.
Yeah, yes.
Get approval
But
on
not
directional
the
signs.
not the signage.
That's what I was asking.
Yeah, the signage is fine, just the lighting part.
Okay.
We approve the signage and defer the lighting part. Is
So
that
is
okay?
that part of the same motion? So to approve this, okay,
yep.
that's why I was asking, yep.
Is that specifically the uplighting? Because the bollard lighting was approved, I thought.
I think the bollard lighting was approved as well.
So the deferment would be specifically for the uplighting.
Yes,
Right.
yes.
To approve all the
Absolutely.
other lighting plans.
Yep. Signage and lighting other than the uplighting, yes. Okay, so we had a second, right? John, you had a second or Katie?
I seconded.
Okay,
And
Kurt, so,
Mark,
okay.
Mark, can the minutes also say that to ask staff the opinion of Rich Morey or someone at the airport in the 2 weeks before we meet again?
Yeah, I can't imagine that this will be a concern for the airport, but I think it's a good idea to ask them. I think Kitty raised a really good point. So we just want to make sure it's not an issue.
Good. Any further questions or comments? All those in favor of the motion to approve the signs and all lighting except the uplighting, say, and then getting the airport managers input, say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? So the motion passes unanimously. All right, okay, guys. So Other than this one thing, you're all set.
Thank you very much, everybody. Have a good night.
Thanks, Tom.
Bye-bye.
Okay. We are on to item number 5. That is the Planning and Community Development Department capital and operating budget requests. So this is Abby.
Yes, hold on one second. I'm just checking the waiting room one more time because I want to make sure we're letting everybody in. Okay. So for the capital and operating budget requests, this year is pretty straightforward for our operating budget for our department because we're not requesting any changes to our expenditures or to our revenues. So we're not asking for any budget decision items to be made from an operating standpoint. For capital budget, we've put together our list of projects for the next 5 years. And I want to just go through this list and highlight a couple of the major changes that we're making from what we had submitted last year. So for the first project, the Stonehorse Green, this is the downtown Plaza development, as you all know. We put this project out for bid earlier this year, so we have a more firm cost estimate. We had estimated 1.5 million. The bid came in at 1.558, so we were pretty close. And initially, this project was envisioned as a TIF 3 project, entirely being funded out of TIF District 3. But after our city attorney saw the design that was selected after a many months long input process, which significantly changed the design from what we initially had kind of conceptualized and what we were calling a plaza, he determined that this had some components that were closer to a recreational facility, and those are not allowed under the TIF statute. So when we initially conceptualized this, we were thinking more hardscape and more of a public plaza with like a water feature or something like that. But once we went out and did our extensive public input, it turned into something completely different than what our staff had initially anticipated. So there are some components within the green that are absolutely not TIF eligible, and those primarily are related to the building and the restrooms. So the major change that I'm proposing here is that we request $1 million in TIF District 3 funding, with the remaining $558,000 coming from primarily donations through a fundraising campaign that has been underway but is currently on pause. This fundraising campaign is being led by the Middleton Area Development Corporation. They have a professional fundraiser involved with the project. But that contract with the professional fundraiser is on hold currently due to the virus. So the fundraiser was kind enough to be willing to pause her contract because right now is a terrible time to be going out and trying to fundraise for anything. So that will hopefully be picking back up eventually, maybe when we get to phase 3 of the Forward Dane plan. Right now, what I have put in is as a budget request, as a placeholder at least, is that we would fundraise $558,000 and the remainder would come from TIF District 3. The second project included on the list is the North Mendota Trail Connector. This is a project that Mark has been working really incredibly hard on over the last couple of years, as well as Alder Ramsey. And it's extremely complicated. It involves numerous property owners. The construction for phase 1A will be beginning very soon. We are requesting a carryover of funding for phase 1B to next year. So the $858,000 that you're seeing as a 2021 expenditure was already budgeted by the Finance Committee and Council. The reason that it's showing up here is because it's a TIF funded project, and so we don't do the normal capital carryover project. It's a new budget request essentially. The part that is shown here in 2022, the 1.35 million, is phase 2 of that project, and that portion of the trail cannot is not eligible for TIF funding. We cannot use TIF to fund that because it is outside of the TIF district and outside of the half mile beyond the TIF district. The third project is Lisa Lane reconstruction. This is the segment of road in front of Middleton Market. It very much looks like industrial type of roadway. We really want to bring it up to a more urban cross section with sidewalks. We want to get rid of that bump out on the north side of the street for parking. It's configured oddly, and we want to have nice lighting and street trees along that section of road. And that really should reflect what we expect this area to become, which is a primary redevelopment area in the city, and it's a really important component of our TIF project plan. We're showing that as a TIF 3 eligible project, and the city is currently working with our joint review board on a TIF amendment. Mayor Brar and Commissioner Schaefer were on a meeting earlier of the joint review board to look at the initial TIF amendment. What we are proposing is that we would include Lisa Lane reconstruction as a TIF 3 eligible project in that project plan. The next item is the zoning ordinance rewrite. Along with the new comprehensive plan, we will need to update our zoning code. Our zoning code is older than I am, and it is, as Commissioner Paulson pointed out earlier in this meeting, it is well in need of an overhaul. The reason that we're showing it as 2022 rather than 2021 is because I think that our staff could spend some time drafting where we want to go with the document, and then we would bring a consultant, and we would need some legal assistance for the project, which is why we've put together a budget request of $100,000. We're hoping that with our work we can do in 2021, we might be able to reduce those overall costs. But right now, we're showing it as the full request that was initially put into the capital improvement plan last year. The next project is the Cayuga Connector. This is shown in our bike ped plan as an important connection. It would connect Cayuga Court and Highway 14 north to the Parmenter Street roundabout. There are some intersection improvements that are happening at Cayuga to make that a more safe crossing for bicyclists and pedestrians. Those are still on schedule to happen yet this year. And this is a cost estimate that was put together by our TIF engineering consultants. And we're showing this as a 2022 expense coming out of TIF District 3. The next project is the Pheasant Branch Conservancy Trailhead. You probably know that the city received a grant, a Knowles Nelson land acquisition grant from the DNR a few years ago to acquire this property that has been in city plans for more than almost 10 years now. And that is for a trailhead at the primary entrance to the Pheasant Branch Conservancy. So right at the corner of Branch Street and Century Avenue, just east of the Stagecoach Trail development. So we got the grant to acquire the property. Our public lands director, who's much more familiar with the DNR grant process, believes that we would be in a good position to be able to acquire or to get some pledged funding through Knowles Nelson for development of the trailhead, but we're not showing that yet because we're not far enough along in the planning process to determine how much we might be eligible for. That's a future year project. And we aren't really pushing for this project to happen before the Pheasant Branch Conservancy plan is completed, approved, and the necessary repairs to the Conservancy are completed. We just wanted to keep this on the list as a future project. Utility undergrounding on Century Avenue, again, that's also a future year project. It is something that we do try to do as areas are redeveloping. We try to bury those power lines primarily for an aesthetic benefit, although it also has additional benefits in terms of keeping the power on during really heavy ice storms. This is something that we would like to go ahead and keep on the list for TIF District 5, but as we know, TIF District 5 is a redevelopment TIF district. There is not as much increment coming out of TIF 5, and so it is possible that, you know, projects like this that are nice to have projects won't be able to happen, but we are showing that still in our project plan, and we've had it in the SIP now for a couple of years. 01 is the Meritor infrastructure, the first phase. This was part of an approved TIF agreement with Meritor to develop the campus at Laura Lane and Century Avenue. And so we are showing this in the plan despite the fact that we don't know when Meritor is planning to move forward. The mayor has been annually pulling together representatives of Meritor and the city to try to get updates on the status of their project. We know that they have some other large capital projects, at least one, which is the renovation of 1 South Park Street in Madison, that are ahead of our project. And so we don't really know the timing of this at this point, but we want to continue to show this in a future year. And then the last item is the community campus plan, which, you know, we really don't have a cost estimate. We don't have an approved design. We have not done public input yet on the community campus plan. So we don't have a dollar amount, but it is possible that with the downtown buildings and any modifications that are made to downtown buildings and parking, there are likely going to be some items that could be TIF eligible. Things like demolition, if we were to develop underground parking that would be publicly accessible, that could help benefit the businesses. Those kinds of expenditures, along with streetscaping, and those kinds of improvements could be TIF-free eligible expense. And so we're just kind of showing that as a placeholder so that we can begin to think about that as a future year project.
Okay, so how do we want to proceed? I think the operating budget is straightforward. So maybe we can approve that budget. So, and then we can take the capital budget, each item separately. So, do I have a motion to approve the operating?
I'll move to recommend approval to the Council and Finance Committee of the operating budget.
Okay.
Second.
Okay.
This is Kitty. A second.
Okay. Motion by Kurt Paulson and second by Kitty Tyson. Any questions or comments? So, Abby, I saw there was an increase of about $34,000. So that is just COLA and some of the other things, or there was something else which led to that increase?
Which line are you looking at, Mayor?
I was just comparing the total for this year and the next year.
Actually, our budget in 2020 is $428,000 for our department, and the requested budget in 2021 is $408,000. So it's about $20,000 less.
Okay, so
the reason for that, the reason for that is we had budgeted full health benefits, family health benefits for all of our employees in our department, and we did a hiring process. And as it turned out, we ended up hiring 2 full-time employees who did not accept full family health benefits.
Okay.
And in fact, one who declined all benefits.
So that's actually a positive change. Okay, all right. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor of the motion to approve the operating budget, say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? So the motion passed unanimously. Now let's go on to the capital budget. So start with the Stone Horse Green development.
So
That's step 3.
why are we taking them individually? We used to always vote en blanc, yeah, for what the staff has recommended.
I would like to take exception to a few of them. So if you want to go ahead and vote, I guess I'm just going to say no, but I'd like to understand why.
I don't really have any problem approving each of the items separately. Maybe if they're all approved, that's fine. Okay, so let's go on.
I was not aware of that, sorry.
Yeah, we can. So I think, so any questions or comments on Stone Horse Green development?
That's one that I very much had over the years seen a lot of the citizens of the community say they really don't want to see a lot of development in that little tiny site. It was a very small area. 4 houses were on it, yes, but there were tiny yards around them with basically a lack of yards. And we're talking about trying to put restrooms and a band shelter, which would be very nice to have in Middleton, but not in that teeny little site. A lot of folks are saying they would love to see trees and grass, and they'd like to see some more trees. A lot of folks love the picnic tables that are out there. I think it's terrific. And I think we did go through a lot of early stage comments by the city where they said they liked them. When we later went off and gave them choices of 3 designs, the selection was between 3 designs and not between 3 designs and just trees and grass. And so to sit here and say that people selected trees and, I mean, the design, I think is very questionable. I don't think that's where people really want to be honest.
Okay.
Abby,
I agree with Katie. I think this went through a design process where we hired people to do designs, and they came up with designs rather than with the concept that there had to be a design. I think the open, clear, simple space where people come out and can sit down and have a seat, you know, it's a lot of money to spend for something I don't think we need.
Okay, any other questions or comments?
Abby, or I guess Alder Ramsey, has council made a policy decision to approve this?
Yes, they selected the plan commission and the council selected the design.
That's what I thought. So, I mean,
and we put the project on hold.
Right.
Yep. So the council put the project out for bid earlier this year, but we had not met our fundraising goal. And so when the bids came back in, there were 3 bids. They were all very close. And the council decided not to proceed with any one of the 3 and to delay the project at least a year in order to give us more time for fundraising. And this was like right at the beginning of COVID when this all happened.
Correct.
Well, I would make a motion to recommend approval to council and the finance committee of the capital project PL 2101, the Stonehorse Green Development in TIF 3.
I'll second.
Okay, any further question or comments? Okay, so this will be divided vote. So do you want to go with the roll call, Abby, then?
Sure. Murray?
Aye.
Paulson?
Aye.
Ramsey?
Aye.
Schaefer?
Nay.
Slavish?
Aye.
Tyson?
No.
Brar?
Aye. Okay, so it passes 5 to whatever the number is, 2 against. So
2.
okay, move on to the item number next, North Mendota Trail Collector. And I have a question for both Dan and Mark and Abby. Why are this is supposed to be done now. So why are we putting it in 2021?
We're putting it into 21 if we don't get all the sign-offs on the easements.
Okay, so
our expectation and our hope is that we get it done now. But we're running into the end of the year, and if for some reason that we don't, then we want it as a carryover project. We've already started. We'd like to finish it.
Okay, so what is there any further progress other than that one person signing, one group?
We have one association that signed. Mark, I believe that you've talked to the Middleton Shores people and they're ready to sign. Is that correct?
Yes,
So
there's no issues there.
We have commitments out of 2 out of 3, and we're waiting on meetings that are going to be had with the 3rd group of property owners to get okay from them. So 2 out of 3, we're waiting on 1.
And I learned today that, and I haven't had a chance to update anybody yet. I just learned it today, that there's a utility conflict now with fiber that was laid last winter. And I have made it very clear that that's not something that the city should have to pay for. So there's a new wrinkle that has surfaced, that if we have to pay for it, it costs $25,000. So I have had a meeting about that to steer us away from that. But this has been a very complicated project, as Abby mentioned, and we're doing the best we can.
Okay, so the design part, you told me last time, it's all done. So the part which we already gave the contract, you said that will start by the end of September, the first phase?
That's the west phase A, yes. That's west of the line.
And we want to make sure that that does happen.
We want to make sure what? I'm sorry.
That it would begin and it's completed. So what
yeah, that's not a problem.
It's scheduled.
Yeah, okay. So what is that which city or anybody could do to complete this second part this year? Anything which city or any Elder Ramsey or I could do?
There's 56. I'm sorry, Dan, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead, Mark.
There's 56 property owners that need to come to an agreement, and the city is working with that association, which has a couple new members on their board as of this summer. So in some ways we are taking a step back to bring everyone up to speed again. So the ball's in my court to answer a comprehensive set of questions that they have asked, and I am we're in process of working with them, getting them the information they need so they can hopefully make a decision in support of granting the easements.
So Mark, as Dan Ramsey would say too, that it's the citizens of District 7 and all of those people have been waiting for a long time. I think we owe it to them that we should get it done and do whatever we can do it. So now the next question is that this scale prepared an engineer's estimate of 612. So, but you're asking for 858. Where did this $246,130 come from?
Oh, nice.
This was the original budgeted amount authorized by the council. The engineer's estimate is just an estimate. We don't know when we go out for bid if bids will come in higher. So the prudent budgeting practice I felt was to recommend the amount that had already been authorized by the council.
So this
hopefully, go ahead.
Yeah, this is within the authorized 1.4 million then.
Exactly.
Okay, all right. So it could hopefully will come up lower, what the engineers estimated. Anybody else have some questions? So for the second part for 2022, are you planning to apply for grants or make some progress with that one?
Are you talking about the third,
yes. Yeah,
phase?
well, it really the second. We had the west segment and east. We divided the west into two. But for me, it is just the east and west. So what are we doing for the east segment? You put $1.35 million. So again, people would want it done. So you said, I think I heard the rumor that we're going to apply for some grants to get this money, right?
That is the intent, but the funding source, I learned a few weeks ago that the county's parks grant funding program is not currently funded for this year. So this project may well have to be finding either another grant or, otherwise the city has to pay it, which of course is a heck of a big bill. So
we also did apply for the MLS grant funding for this. So that might also be what you're thinking of, Mayor. That was the application that Daphne submitted for this project, as well as the Parmenter reconstruction. And we didn't get funding for this. We did get $1 million for Parmenter.
Yeah, that's really, congratulations for that one, Abby. That's great. Great job with Daphne. So is there anything, this is Elder Ramsey would agree, and I agree with him that this is a high priority project and we should do something about it. So it just, I know people were asking me in 2008, it's 12 years later. So Okay, well.
Well, I believe staff will, just like they have a couple of times this year, will continue to look for all applicable grants, any kind of grant money that we can find. And I'm sure that that Abby and Mark, that will have application made for anything that they think is even remotely close to helping us fund the last phase. In the meantime, I would make the motion that we recommend finance and council this item.
I'll second that.
Okay, further questions or comments? And I like what Elder Ramsey you have said, because I think it is important. Any other further question?
Yeah, I'll be abstaining from this because in my day job, I work with the NPO and improving the tip and the step for the state. So.
Okay. Okay, Jennifer is abstaining. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? So the motion passes, and Mark, and then let's, Elder Ramsey, let's get it done. So the next one is Lisa Lane reconstruction. I guess it is coming from TIF, and I think this does seem like something which will make a big difference in that area. We have two affordable housing components there, and then the stress are coming up, and I think it's the right thing to do. So I'm in favor of it. I will make a motion to approve.
I'll second that, Mayor.
Okay. Any questions or comments?
I will be abstaining again.
Okay. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? So the motion passes. Now the zoning ordinance rewrite, and Abby, we did not do this last year. Otherwise, this was a high priority. And you did say that the staff is going to make an effort to write parts of it. Why are we delaying it? Is there any way that we could do it sooner?
Yeah, I mean, Mark and I had a discussion about this, and we kind of went back and forth about whether this should be included in 21 or 22. With the comp plan being completed this year, it's possible that our staff would still have enough time to get all of our ducks in a row and have something ready to go out for RFP by the middle of next year. So, it still is possible that it could be a 2021 project. To be honest, what pushed me over into 2022 was looking at the budget presentation that our finance director made about capital budget next year, and there was very little amount in the category of administration and other, which is what we fall under. I think there was only a total of $100,000. And so I just thought, if we didn't know for sure that we were going to be ready to go in 2021, then I thought maybe it would make more sense to delay it to 2022, because I know how tight the budget's going to be for next year.
I think that was prudent.
Okay, so Kurt,
we are sitting on another capital project that was funded this year, and that is the University Avenue plan. Given how busy we've been with the comprehensive plan, and also with the working remotely and not being able to do public input, we have an RFP drafted and ready to go for the University Avenue corridor plan. And so that was the other thing in my mind is, okay, we're going to be juggling a couple of processes simultaneously, which is going to be hard for our small staff to do.
So Kurt, in your mind, how important is the zoning ordinance?
Wow, you're asking a planning professor what he thinks about zoning. It's like the most important thing. So it's the way to implement the comprehensive plan. And as we found out, ours is really out of date, and there's all sorts of new uses and mixed uses that just are not accounted for in the ordinance. And so I would prefer to see it sooner rather than later, but the other way to think about it is, if we don't update the zoning ordinance, we might run into lots of legal issues anyway, which would eat up that 100,000. So, but I'm very cognizant of the fact that staff is overloaded already and working from home and doing the comp plan and the University Avenue plan. So if we could move the budget to 2021 with the understanding that it might be, the RFP might go out in like June or even September of 2021. And then you'd want to stand up a advisory committee and public outreach and engagement, which might bleed into 2022. So legitimately a comprehensive zoning rewrite statewide usually takes about 15 months once you include all the meetings and the outreach and the engagement.
Okay. So Mike Slavish, how do you feel? And then it will be Kitty and John. So just give me your input. So I think, and also want to think about if we can get this money from somewhere else other than the capital budget.
You know, I mean, I'm not sure what you're looking for here exactly, Mayor, but, you know, I mean, I support moving forward with this, if that's the question.
Okay, yeah, that is the question. So
I strongly support Kurt as well. I think there's lots of issues. I live in a neighborhood right downtown where there's constantly pressures here and there, and it just seems like the world is changing and we need to be on top of this.
Kitty, how do you feel?
Same. I very much agree. We need to do a zoning ordinance rewrite, but we need to spend some time talking about it and agreeing that it makes sense, because you know, a lot of these things that are popping up seem to have evolved from something that was 12 or 15 years ago, and the world has changed.
Okay.
It changes every year.
Jennifer, you probably feel the same way?
Yeah, I agree. I know that the zoning code needs to be, or zoning ordinance needs to be rewritten, so I support it as well.
And I'm sure Elder Ramsey is agreeing with this too. So Abby, so you guys have our feeling now here. So I think, you know, try to see whatever you can.
Yeah, I was going to just say, if the commission would like for this request to be in 2021, I would just like feedback from you all as to how to rank it with the other 3 2021 projects now. I guess I mean, given that the other 3 are all being funded by TIF, they're not really in competition for the same funds, but the way that we submit our budget to the Finance Committee and Council is on a priority ranking. So I think we still need some discussion of that.
Okay, so,
so I think the higher priority planning items are the University Avenue Corridor Plan.
Okay.
And the community campus plan as ways to implement our comprehensive plan, recognizing that if we limp along for another year on the zoning ordinance, we may do what we always do, which is we do almost everything by planned unit development anyway.
That's sad.
Which is not necessarily what you're supposed to do, but.
Right, yeah, I mean, like, we don't have any zoning category right now that allows for like even medium density multifamily housing. We just don't have it. So right now we have to go PDD. And, you know, I appreciate this discussion because frankly, administering 100 PDDs is getting to be really cumbersome, especially when they've had multiple modifications. And so you're trying to track, you know, what was initially allowed and then what all the other modifications are for every single property that's west of the Beltline. It's really challenging.
I would personally just advocate that you shove it ahead to 2021. I don't know that you have to re-rank it with the others because they're all TIF interests, but the issue is simply put it there where it needs to be seen that it's important.
Okay, I will second it. So, okay, so the motion is to push it to 2021 and try to see if we can find funding. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? So the motion passes unanimously. Abby, I have a question for you. When is that university corridor planning happening and where is that money coming from?
The university corridor plan was funded in the 2020 capital budget in the amount of $30,000. And we will be requesting a capital carryover for at least most of those funds. Daphne has prepared a request for proposals to go out to hire a consultant for that project. But what happens is that we are working on the community campus plan, the comprehensive plan rewrite. Mark's got the airport master planning project, which you may have heard about. And then we also have, several other projects. And so I think we came to our senses a little bit as we were reviewing Daphne's draft and decided to hold off a little bit because we want to make sure that we can do projects well. And right now we're spread so thin that we are struggling to keep up. So that is why we have not yet sent out the RFP, but I would expect that would happen shortly after the comprehensive plan is completed.
Okay, yeah, I agree with somebody said I would put zoning and the university corridor had a lot of other things. So, okay, so the next is Cayuga Connection. It's a TIF project. So I know it is 300,000 just from that corner of fire station to that roundabout. Is that?
Yep, and that's a 10-foot wide, 10-foot wide path. It includes design and engineering. It does not include any land acquisition. So we're assuming that we can either fit it on the property that we already own, or we can acquire easements at no cost. It does include some retaining walls that are going to be required. And so that's what drove the cost up.
So in terms of priority, I guess we got a lot of other projects which will be way ahead of this one, right? Including that North Mendota Trail, of course.
Yeah,
so
I would put the North Mendota Trail as a higher priority than the Cayuga Connection.
So do we even need to vote on any of these things which are further down the road, or leave them alone?
This one is one that I very much disagree with. I'm very frustrated at the idea of deciding that it's appropriate to start to run a 10-foot trail and a potential mini park along a freeway. I think that violates the whole concept of Middleton and our 25% parks and connecting the parks and living on parks and so on. I think it's misconceived to start putting things along freeways.
Yeah, it is set up along the entrance to the freeway. Yes, go ahead,
Mark.
Mark,
this has been on the bike and bike improvement plan for years. Can you speak to the issue is to try to get away from the downtown area, like Cayuga Court, Long Table area, to like the high school and Parmenter Street without having to go up Parmenter Street. Can you speak to why that decision was made?
What is the problem with the Parmenter? I mean, we got plenty of bike lanes there.
Yeah.
Yes, Mark, go ahead. Mark, you are mute. Unmute yourself.
Sorry about that.
Okay.
I don't know if you've had a chance to review the email I sent yesterday addressing this question. I included a map that showed the linkage that was approved in 2009 as through the bicycle and pedestrian plan. There are many bicyclists who choose not to or who do not wish to travel on roads, especially if they have kids. And so we have our trail system that tends to draw people who are less comfortable riding on roads. The bike ped plan anticipated this connection because this was a way to link the downtown to the backbone of the city's trail network, which is the Pheasant Branch Conservancy. I didn't in my memo specifically address the concept of a bike path along the freeway, but it's quite common, especially at Madison, to see these facilities along busy roadways. There's in fact, that whole Gammon Road construction, in case you weren't aware, aside from needing the reconstruction, the Gammon Road needed to be reconstructed by Westtown, but there's actually a bike underpass going alongside the freeway. So a bicycle path will run from the golf course east of Whitney Way all the way west to High Point Road along the freeway. So it's not uncommon to have bike paths along busy roadways. Highway 12 going north of the city is another example. The path would be separated from the roadway by a fence.
But the issue is then, why did we put all the energy and money
I don't know if I
creating a bike path all the way up Parmenter? I mean, that was a big issue, cutting off parking and everything at Parmenter to put a bike thing there, to only say that's not what we really wanted to do. We should have done it somewhere else.
As I just was trying to, I didn't make it very clear. I'm sorry. There's some people who wish to travel.
You know, no, I pick up that part.
On a bike and bike lane. Okay.
So do we need to do both? Do we need to spend $300,000 to accommodate those who don't choose to want to do it the other way?
Street.
I
Mark,
guess
you were breaking up there. Can you just repeat what you said?
You're using in the mass area.
Using what? I don't think we heard you, Mark.
We can't hear you, Mark.
I'm going out of my office here.
Yep, come out into the council chambers. This same thing was happening to me when I was in my office with the door shut.
Just to speak to what Mark said, one of the things the Bike Head Committee looked at was the fact that this would connect to the other paths. It would also connect the downtown to how many new units do we have down there? Housing units do we have with all the approvals that we have down in that area now? We got to be close to
300 units in downtown, new units. So Middleton Center has
in the Parmenter. Not.
Oh, that's about 400.
Parmenter corridor.
Oh yeah, there are 450 new units just on Lisa Lane.
Plus the 125 we just approved.
Plus the Conservancy Bend. Yeah, there are a lot. There are probably over 1,000 units along Parmenter Street.
That was my thought, is we're probably at about 1,000 units. So Bike and Ped looked at this briefly, and we looked at it as a way to connect 1,000 people to downtown.
Well, this Ben Ramsey, do you think that's a very, dangerous intersection, or whatever section you call it? And I know the Public Works has some plan to improve it. So maybe we can look at or visit this. So once the Public Works Committee does something about that intersection. So, I guess you don't want people to getting killed. So you want them to use the bike path, but not at the cost of their life.
Well, and I think to John's point, on Parmenter Street north of University, it's just a bike lane painted on the road. It's not a grade separated bike path.
That's fine. I was just, I'm not arguing against necessarily what the decision. It just seemed as if that was a lot of energy put into that thing to Sunday side, that we did it, but it's not enough. Let's change it. And I'm just wondering why this issue wasn't thought about at the time that they put the bike path in on Parmenter.
I think that both of those were shown in the Bike Head plan. Both the on-street asphalt striped bike lane on Parmenter and the Cayuga connection. They were both in the Bike Head plan.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
And the other thing is, we didn't have the amount of, we had no idea in 2009 when this was planned, the amount of development that there is now. I mean, it takes on a much different look now because of like Abby said, the 1,000 units we have down there. That's moving a lot of kids and a lot of people.
Well, that's fine. I just like to be educated.
I'm back, by the way. Mark Opitz is back. I called in.
Okay, so Mark, tell us what the Public Works Committee is doing. They're trying to do something to improve this intersection. When is that happening, and where is that?
Are you talking about the Cayuga intersection?
Yes.
Is that the intersection? Is that the intersection you're talking about, Mayor?
Yes, and the Public Works Committee was in the process of working on that intersection. And when is that happening, and what are the plans?
That is, my understanding is that is moving forward this fall. It was budgeted, authorized by the council for extending the sidewalk across the fire station property and installing the crosswalk on the east side of University and the Cayuga intersection. So that is going to be installed. That's a pedestrian feature that's independent of the Cayuga connection. It will serve the Cayuga connection as well, but it was needed from a pedestrian circulation standpoint. A question was raised about why something wasn't thought of in 2009, and we intentionally knew that we were putting in bike lanes on Collector and our trail streets, which is our city policy. That's when I was getting cut off. That's our policy, is to put bike lanes on busy streets and bike paths where we can, to provide enhanced connectivity for people who don't want to bike in the street.
Okay. Any other questions or comments?
It's the other thing that I would very much like to see, instead of just approving every little bike lane and trail that comes along, is that we get a little bit more organized about where people are going from and to, and whether there are actual numbers out there. I mean, I know you guys are throwing out huge volumes of how many new units there are, and that's great to try to address it, but we don't need to create a honeycomb throughout Middleton of bike lanes on every single set of streets. Number one. Number two, downtown has a lot of demand coming up, and we haven't laid it out yet, such that we've got a cohesive plan and are showing what we really want to do and how they all fit together. And for us to just start throwing trails along the freeway and mini parks along the freeway to address the housing that's along the freeway is frustrating to a great degree, because we aren't sitting here trying to understand where we're going to put all these pieces, and how they need to mesh together to make the most sense.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yes. Mm-hmm. Sorry, go ahead.
I'd rather see us put it off until we can get a comprehensive plan, especially of the downtown area, put together, so that we know how it will feed all these other needs.
Is that your motion then?
Put it off, yes.
Okay, I will second it.
It is listed on 2022. Did you mean to just take it off of the capital improvement plan permanently?
For now,
no,
yeah.
Yes,
it can come back. I'm sure we would be happy to bring it back later if we need it. We certainly have the plan for it.
Just put a plan together and then bring it back. It could be 2022, but I don't know how far along. I know, Abby or Mark, where are we with the planning process for the downtown?
Well, as you'll recall, in March, the the council approved the city staff undertaking a 9-month extensive public input period. And so that was in March. It was the last in-person council meeting that we had before we started going remote. We have met with Jen really recently. Jen is the chair of our community campus plan committee, and we've started kicking around some ideas about how we might start to do public input virtually. We do have one idea of something that we could do safely in person, where we wouldn't have people attending at the same time. And then we also have a survey option that we're looking at, but we have not yet pulled together the community campus committee again to discuss these ideas. So that's probably our next step.
Okay, any other questions or comments? I think it makes sense until, you don't want to just go in 10 different directions. So we need to have that one thing put together, and then wherever it fits is fine. So, and also we will have
the only point that I would make to that argument is this is a planning document. This isn't until 2022. We've been given a list of where staff thinks things are going to fall in the next 5 years. So whether we keep it in 2022 or we take it off in 2022, it's just planning. We're going to have to come back and have this exact same conversation So it may not happen in 2022. I mean, we're going to have this conversation later. I don't know that we're doing ourselves any good going line by line, arguing about whether these things should stay in or go out when we're in 2022, 23, 24, 25.
Well, it's important to have input because I think
Well, I'm not,
staff knows about it and they're made aware of it. It just other than in the past it was just vote it and move on. So yeah, I agree with you. It's that it is a 5-year planning document and it won't really compete with the North Mendota Trail. It probably will be going to 23 or 24. But if it meshes with the downtown planning document, that's even better. So that's all we are really saying. So.
Well, you have to be careful that if you get away from planning, then you start to piecemeal projects year by year, and then we're done with the planning that you're talking about. So you just have to be aware of that.
Well, in this case, in my mind, we are really connecting it rather than, if you just only do this and not the rest of it, it's, well, that's how I feel, just a standalone thing. And that makes less sense to me. So, but if it's part of the larger plan, then, it fits in, it's like a jigsaw puzzle, then it fits in there. So
I guess I agree with Kitty and Dan and Gertie that I think leaving this where it is still making the presence that it's something to think about, something to be discussed. And there's nothing in this document that's locking in dollars or rules. And I think the issue came up that we really need to consider what's going on here, whether it's Cayuga or not. And I think this discussion has been good. I've heard a lot of good input from lots of people. And so I don't see the need of just taking it off suddenly makes the conversation happen. So I personally am happy with leaving it in place as a placeholder and saying, we've talked about it, we need to do a lot more talking.
I would agree.
All right. Are you okay with that, Kitty? Then just leave it as there and the staff knows of the discussion and they will take that into consideration?
Actually, I would have totally deleted it because I don't think it makes sense, period. I don't want to see it, but if, you guys go ahead.
Well, it's fine. If you made the motion, I guess it's still there. Right?
I make a motion that we delete the Cayuga connection.
Okay, I won't second that one. I was going to be a part of the overall bigger picture. Okay, so that's that motion dies. So
I move we recommend approval to Finance and Common Council of the Cayuga connection in the 2022 budgeted period.
Okay, so the motion is to recommend to the finance and for 2022. That I don't think appropriate. Okay, in any case,
I'm going to.
Who seconded it, Mayor?
Pardon me?
Who
Dan
seconded the
Ramsey
motion?
seconded.
Dan Ramsey. So.
Okay,
Okay,
and
so
on the previous motion, I heard Tyson, and I thought you said you seconded the previous motion, Mayor Barr.
yeah, but he withdrew it. So no, that motion was to defer it until
item.
we have the.
It died for a lack of a second, Mark.
Died, yeah.
Oh, okay. I heard him say that, but I thought I heard him second the motion. That's why I was misunderstanding.
He said he wasn't going to, so it just died for a lack of a second.
Much earlier, there was a discussion, and Gurdeep said that if you made this motion to delay it, then I would second it. And I didn't make that motion. I just want to drop it. So, and that part of it is gone.
Okay, Abby, it will be. Let's have a roll call vote, please.
Okay. What's the motion?
The motion is now to recommend to the City Council for 2022 and the Finance Committee.
Okay, Murray?
I'm abstaining.
She's abstaining.
Yep, thank you. Paulson?
Aye.
Ramsey?
Aye.
Schaefer?
Aye.
Slavish?
Aye.
Tyson?
No.
Brar?
No. Okay, so the others are, further out. Do we want to even talk about those other items?
I would make a motion that we take the Pheasant Branch Conservancy Trailhead, the utility underground on Century Avenue, and the Meritor infrastructure for 23, 24, and 25, and we recommend them to finance and council.
Second.
Okay, any questions or comments?
My comment would be, I don't believe we need the Pheasant Branch Conservancy Trailhead. I think a lot of discussion has gone on about that one. We already have 3 other parking lots, including a Dane County one on the northwest corner of the Conservancy. And we have 1 other park shelter, and it's serious overkill. We can use that money in a lot of places. And I really don't want to see us throwing it at that trailhead. I'd love to see the underground bridge. I mean, I think that's certainly worth it, but that's coming up later, Abby said.
Yeah, that's a county bridge, and so we have to wait for the county to be ready to replace it.
So I definitely agree with the other 3, or the other 2 rather, but.
So do we want to take it that one? Yeah.
You already motion and seconded.
Yep.
Okay.
And who seconded it?
I did. Paulson.
Thank you. Now that I'm on just audio, it's hard to, I'm not seeing people, so it's harder to pick it up.
Yeah, I don't like all those 3 together. It's like but it's 23, 24, 25. Okay, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Opposed?
No, because I don't want to see the Pheasant Branch one. I do agree with the other 2.
Jen abstained.
Okay. Okay, so the motion, 1 abstention, 1 against, and the rest are it. Even though I would say that the Pheasant Branch, that rail thing, I'm not, okay, I'm going to say no as well, so. Okay, any further question or comments? So we are done with the budget. And is there any other items? Okay, we need to move to item number 7.
Mayor, I'm sorry, one more clarifying question for the minute taker here. You said you're done with the budget. What happened to the community campus plan? I missed that in my notes.
There's no budget there. There's
nothing listed.
there.
Oh, okay, got it. Yep, got it. Thank you.
Okay, item number 6, set a public hearing date for sign variance, Cabinet City Dream House 6649, University Avenue.
I'll make a motion to set a public hearing for Tuesday, September 8th, 2020 at 7:05 p.m. for a sign variance on Cabinet City.
Need a second.
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 Okay, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? So the motion passes unanimously. Item number 7, set a public hearing date for a general implementation plan amendment for rezoning, restoring Hope Transplant House 7475 Terrace Avenue. And this is the September 8th, 2020, 7:15, and I make a motion to set that date. Need a second.
Second.
Okay, any questions or comments? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? So the motion
Me.
passes.
Me.
Oh. 1 opposed?
Yep, I'm opposed.
Oh,
Just
okay.
setting a public hearing? Okay.
This is for the public hearing.
Yeah, I think what we need to do is start to look at this as being part of our zoning issues. I'd like to see us take that whole block of houses and rezone them, not to encourage people to move out right away, but to give them the option of selling it to a developer who might want to start developing multifamily housing. I think that block is a perfect location for it. That entire block, those houses are old, and many of them have some serious mold problems, one of which couldn't even sell the house a year or two ago from a friend of mine owned it. He ended up having the house down. I'm not saying that corner, that the transplant house is one of those, but it frightens me to think we're going to try to put way too much square footage on that site by adding 10 suites to a single family house, or not single family, but to that one lot that does have other single family houses around it. I think it's not a great use of that particular location. I think the Restoring Hope Transplant House is awesome, and we really want to try to keep it somewhere in Middleton, but I really don't think that's the place to let it grow. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, but that's why we have public hearing, right? So.
That's right.
Okay, but you have a great point. Okay, any further comments or points? All those in favor of the motions to set the public hearing, say aye.
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 Anyone opposed?
Me.
Okay, so it's one opposed. Okay, need a motion to adjourn. Thank you guys, everyone.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye. Okay, so we're adjourned.
Thanks,
Thank you,
everybody.
everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Aye. Have a
Good
good
night.
night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.